protein on a raw
Yeah.
diet. So, how much do we need, and where's the best place to get it from, in your opinion?
The best place to get it is fruits and vegetables, um, a few nuts and seeds, if you're so inclined, if you're not keeping your fat, super, super low. I don't think you need to eat beans like a lot of the plant-based doctors say. And it's so easy these days with Cronometer, MyFitnessPal, whatever nutrient database software you like to use. You put your food in for the day. It gives you each of the essential amino acids and compares your levels to the recommended levels. And there's a couple of things to consider about the recommended levels. So going into like what we teach in our classes, back in the 1940s, a Dr. William Rose, for the first time, determined the essential amino acid needs of human beings. And he did, some pretty intensive experiments. And basically what he found for each essential individual amino acid, there was a large range in terms of how much of each of those somebody needed in order to maintain something called positive nitrogen balance, and that's a longer story. So there was a big range. And what the recommendations are based on, they are based on conservative overestimates, okay? Overestimates of what 97.5% of the population needs in order to be healthy. So if you put in an all fruit diet, and you see several of the essential amino acids are not adequate. If one of them's at 90% of the recommendation, the chances are you're covered because, that they've got the buffer in there because they're overestimates of what you need. And you might not be one of the people that needs the most of that particular thing. And maybe another one's at 50% and another one's at 60%. There are some people out there who that may be sufficient for. But there's also some people out there who that may not be sufficient for. And that's where, oh, my friend is a low fat raw vegan and is works out and has, beautiful muscles and all this stuff, but it didn't work for another person. But if you take a fruit-based diet and you get a couple hundred calories worth of vegetables in there. That's a couple of pounds of vegetables. So, like a kilogram of vegetables, 1,000 grams. You asked for grams before. You get 1,000 grams worth of vegetables in there. That rounds out the nutritional profile, including in essential amino acids. And you can cover your needs easily with enough vegetables in your diet, and all the rest can be fruit if you want.
Well, one of the doctors that recommends beans, so highly cooked beans, saying he almost makes it sound like it's impossible to get enough protein without beans. Uh, he says the average vegan out there, let's say vegan, might get between 20 and 40 grams a day. But when he adds his beans, he can get up to 80 grams a day. And he says, as we get older, we need more protein and so on. The average person, even eating a decent amount of fruits and vegetables, they're not getting probably, I mean, even with the Cronometer or whatever, they're probably not reaching 40 grams a day. Uh, if they're not, do you think that's perfectly fine and safe, or do you think that's on the lower side?
That sounds like it's on the lower side. And by the way, the whole point of total protein recommendations is as an estimate to make sure that you get each of your essential amino acids covered. So essential amino acids is where the rubber hits the road. Total protein recommendations is just the ballpark that leads
Sure,
to where the rubber
sure.
hits the road. So I get maybe 60 or so grams of protein per day. All of my essential amino acids are really well covered. I've been behaving myself and getting back to the gym lately, and I'm really happy with the increases in weight that I'm using and seeing my muscles getting bigger. I mean, I couldn't be doing that if I didn't get enough protein. And I do not eat, I mean, a few times a year, we sprout up some lentils and some chickpeas and eat those. But in a typical month, typical 4 month period, I don't have beans in my diet. Um, I have plenty of vegetables in there, and my protein needs are easily covered.
Really? So give us an example, because how much are you eating each day? I know you said 3 or 4 times a day. Give us an example of your daily day on the average. I know when you travel it might be different, but what do you do at home? Give us an example. What time do you normally get up?
Yeah, 7:30 or so. get my kid off to school, or sometimes I'm the one that takes him to school. Dr. Karen and I alternate for that. Let me just give you a quick disclaimer. I've been on this path almost 40 years. At the beginning of each year, I do like 14 days of juice, and then I eat super clean coming off. And every year, I seem to get cleaner and cleaner and simpler and whatnot. And I enjoy it. I don't feel restricted. So what I say doesn't mean you have to eat this way. So a typical breakfast for me these days is, and this is just within the last year that I finally started doing this after talking about it for many years. I typically eat a head of romaine lettuce. Okay, I just clean the leaves and I just like I'm sitting here at my desk working or doing
About
whatever.
what time? About what time?
I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock
Okay.
maybe. I
Okay.
just stick them in my mouth and I eat a whole head of
Okay.
lettuce. Okay,
Okay.
you don't have to do that to be healthy, but I'm into it. And
Okay.
then along with that, I might eat like 5 oranges,
Okay.
or I might make a smoothie out of a half a cantaloupe and a couple fresh bananas, then some strawberries and some frozen mango. I don't usually add greens to the smoothie because I just ate a whole head of lettuce. My greens are covered.
Now, lettuce
Uh,
aren't a dark green. They're a light green. So that is, we always hear about the dark greens, but what do you think about that lettuce just being so
Yeah,
light?
I think that's a great question. So I am not capable of eating that size of a head of kale. I just can't do it. People eat kale, it's a smaller amount. Now it's dark green and it's really concentrated, but if you took like 3 leaves of kale and took all that greenness and added some water and fiber and spread it out a little bit, you'd have a head of lettuce, roughly.
Okay. Okay.
So in other words, it's just spread
Sure.
out, but it's still there.
All right. So you're eating your lettuce, you're having your fruit with your lettuce around 10 o'clock, and then what's next?
Yeah, so if I make a really big smoothie, I might not eat again till late afternoon. If it's
What's
just,
really big? How many ounces are really big? What are we talking
oh,
about?
like a 40-ounce smoothie where there's like,
Okay.
800 calories in there.
And is that mostly just fruit?
Yeah, yeah, it's just fruit. It's like, it's either oranges or cantaloupe typically, and some fresh bananas, some
Okay.
fresh or frozen strawberries, and then either like some more frozen bananas or some frozen
But there's
mangoes or
no
something.
greens or fat in the smoothie. It's just blended ve fruits pretty much.
Correct.
And they're frozen.
I used to always add kale to my smoothie before I started
Okay.
eating
But
large quantities of
if the
lettuce.
fruits are all frozen or not necessarily
No,
frozen.
no, no. The typically most of it's about half and half, maybe 2/3 fresh, a third frozen.
Okay.
Frozen fruit's fun because it makes it nice and thick.
Do you think you lose nutrients when you freeze?
I don't know. I know that's one of the frozen food man's thing in your first book that you
Yeah.
don't want to. It doesn't look like you lose too many nutrients freezing. You do maybe use a little bit from oxidizing in the blender, but John Kohler has got us into vacuum blending these days, so we preserve the most nutrients that way.
Okay, so you got your smoothie, you got your lettuce. What's next for Dr. Rick?
Yeah, so or a lot of times it's not a smoothie. It's like oranges. And then I might have let's say it's oranges. Let's say it's a head of lettuce and oranges and it's, a 400 calorie meal or something like that. Mid-afternoon, I'll typically have like another fruit snack. Maybe like 4 or 5 apples or some peaches or just, something else that's fruit. I don't usually eat greens with that. And then for dinner, I have it's like a really large amount of vegetables. Now, again, disclaimer here. This is me, does not mean this is what you have to do. So I love raw cauliflower. So I typically eat like it's a pre-salad. Like I'll put it in a bowl, just like a head of raw cauliflower. And that's weighs somewhere between a pound and a pound and a half. So I'm weird like that. I just love the way this stuff tastes. I love how it
Okay,
makes me feel. I just
so
eat
you have
it.
a lot of vegetables for that meal.
Yep. And then my salad itself is like a whole head of romaine lettuce, like a pound of romaine, typically a pound or a pound and a half of zucchini shredded in there. There's typically some tomatoes in there. And then there's a dressing that's typically made out of either tomatoes or celery as a base, which puts even more vegetables over the salad. So I'm getting 3, 4, 5 pounds of vegetables in a day. I recommend everyone get two. Okay. And if you want to go more than that for some added bonus, great.
All right, so you got your salad meal.
And then typically there's a little bit of fat in the dressing, some chia, some walnuts, some avocados, something like that. And then when I add up the whole day, 15, 18% of my calories come from fat, something like that. But it's in the evening with the
And ha
salad.
and do you eat anything after the salad?
It depends how physically active I've been and if I'm hungry or not. Sometimes not. Typically, though, I'll have some more fresh fruit later in the evening, a little bit before bed, so I'm not too hungry to fall asleep.
Okay, so how much fruit before bed normally? A piece or another meal or what?
Yeah, it depends. A few oranges, a couple bananas. I mean, it's not right before bed, but an hour or two, maybe something
But
like
on
that.
average, you're eating between 12 to 15 pieces of fruit a day on average.
Boy, I'd never thought of it in terms of pieces. Probably something like that. It's probably like, 12 to 1500 calories worth of fruit, 400 calories worth of vegetables, and 100 calories or so, 100, 200 calories worth of fat.
So that means you're doing about 2,000 calories a day on average.
Correct. Yeah,
And what time are
correct.
you going to sleep at night?
11 or 12 typically.
Okay, that was the next question I was going to talk to you about is sleep. You're going to sleep around 11 or 12. You get up 7:30, so you're getting your 8 hours of sleep a night.
About eight, yeah. And it doesn't always work out that way. You know what it's like better than I do, Paul, when you got a young kid at home. So things have changed a bit. But yeah, I usually get eight in there, and clearly I feel the best at 8 or so hours of sleep compared to some nights when I get like six or so.
Some people say when you eat a raw food diet or eat healthy, you need less sleep. Do you find that to be true or that's a myth?
I think when you eat a healthy raw food diet that's easy to digest and light, that's fruit based and lower on the fat end of the spectrum, then yeah. I've certainly noticed that if I eat more fat or eat some potatoes or something at night, which I haven't done in about 6 years now, I mean, I feel the difference the next morning, even with the same amount of sleep. I've certainly noticed the difference, and a lot of people have also.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the raw life health show. Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the raw life health show.